Hey guys, welcome back to Sports Bar. We're back with another video this time, and so in this video we'll discuss about the UEFA Europa League, the UCL final, and various news related to football. So I think we should start with UEFA Champions League first. What do you say?
Yes, let's start with the biggest, what you can say, biggest competition of all the club football that you can say, and we should start with it.
Exactly, and so the news is that Chelsea had defeated Manchester City 1-0 in the coveted UEFA Champions League final, and N'Golo Kante was adjudged as the man of the match. And legend says that N'Golo Kante is still running on the pitch.
Everyone says that the Earth is covered. 71% of the Earth is filled with water. Rest other is covered by N'Golo Conte. That is such is his impact on the team. But I would like to give credit
Correct.
to Tuchel as well. He has what you can say sub players को means he has understood what every player's strength and weaknesses is, because everyone was talking about N'Golo Kante when he was under Frank Lampard, playing that CDM kind of role, lone CDM kind of role, and everyone was
Hmm.
talking that N'Golo Kante is past his prime, now he's getting old. He is not
Hmm.
the N'Golo Kante that he was in the past, but suddenly in another system, where he has Jorginho alongside him, helping him around. Plus, he has a cover of three centre backs behind him, so he can he can what you can say express himself fully in such a system. And he's not the one who's gonna sit back, who's gonna wait for opposition to come to him. He likes to he likes to take the game to his opposition. He likes to run towards him. He probably likes to cover the entire pitch, and that's why we say
Correct.
that he covers the entire world. So other in this system, a lot of players have been benefited from him. N'Golo Kante is the one. You can talk about Kai Havertz, whose game has also been risen under Tuchel. Timo Werner, although he missed some of the chances, he's off the ball and he's still amazing, and it's valuable contribution to the team. So all of the credit should go to Thomas Tuchel as well, because under Frank Lampard we probably wouldn't have said Chelsea would probably become Champions League winner and they could contest for that title. So a lot of credit should go to Thomas Tuchel as well, and the players too as well. Not to take any credit from not to take any credit from them.
Correct. And such is the competition, you
Mm.
cannot really predict that which team is going to win. Any team can come from anywhere and surprise you, just like Chelsea did this time. And during February March time, I was talking to you. I was
Mm.
saying that this UEFA Champions League does not have an underdog, and but here you go, you have underdogs as the winners of the winners of the tournament this time. So yeah, and apart from that, what I'll say is that N'Golo Kante on the pitch was literally everywhere.
Mm.
It's like जब पेप ग्वार्डियोला अपने होटल रूम में गया, उसने दरवाजा खोला तो उधर भी उसको एंगोलो कांटे दिख गया. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
can say
so
that.
like you said, such is the impact, and he really deserved the man of the match as well.
Yes, and if you look,
Apart from that, I'd like to say one thing
mm,
that uh, I have never seen a bag of money score a goal for you. So this was this was said by the great Johan Cruyff, and
mm,
I think this cannot be truer. That nothing can be truer than this. We have seen everything like this right now. Last year also, PSG looked like they could win the Champions League, but Bayern Munich outclassed them. Even this year, we thought that Manchester City would go on to win the Champions League, but this time Chelsea came in between. So yeah, this tournament belongs to the underdogs
mm.
and belongs to the ones who grow their game on the pitch, and not just because they have a lot of money.
You mentioned about Man City being favorites. When I saw the team sheet, I saw Gundogan was playing as a CDM alongside Bernardo Silva and Foden with De Bruyne as a camp. I saw that and I was wondering, last year, when I think so, they were playing against Lyon in the quarterfinal, and Pep decided to go with a three at the back, three at the back formation, and it was same like that only, like that only. Pep likes to. We all tease him saying that Pep's like to tinker with his tactics a lot. He overthinks a lot, and if you look at if you I don't know if you have watched the final or not, but if you see the final, there was no Fernandinho, there was no Rodgers, so there was a lot of
Correct.
space open, and I don't know what Pep was trying to think with that strategy. But every each and every player, Bernardo, if you can Bernardo with playing four creative players like Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, De Bruyne and Gundogan. All of them are the creative players. They are not your potent goal scorers. So you need someone. If you could have probably played a striker, proper striker or someone who has that
Correct.
goal scoring.
I think like you said, Pep likes to overthink a lot.
Mm,
I have read this thing everywhere on the internet too.
mm.
Also, I do not understand why Aguero wasn't started in the final. I think this guy Sterling looked very off color, and Aguero really deserved to start.
Well, the point about Sterling, as you mentioned, I was going to come to Sterling as well. He was actually the one player, who I thought was very good on the ball, and he was the one, who was diving at the City defense, because they needed someone. Because all of the players, they are De Bruyne, they'll do Phil Foden, all of them, they like someone's help. They like someone else to score the goals. They are not potent goal scorers. They will create chances for you, but they are most likely, probably don't not score that much. So yeah, you needed someone, and you mentioned Aguero should have played. I completely agree with you. Aguero, or maybe Gabriel Jesus should have played at least, because all these players, all these De Bruyne, Foden, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, all these players, they were just playing in the one position, and and it looked like, at one point it looked like, they are just getting in way of each other. They are just they are all of them. If you closely watch the game, you can see that all four of them, including Sterling, were on the left hand side of the pitch, and no one was on the right hand side. Probably Bernardo Silva alone was playing on the right hand side with Riyad Mahrez, and you can see, I said I said in a preview that Riyad Mahrez was gonna be the player to watch out for, but you can see that Riyad Mahrez was not even on the ball for I think so more than 5 seconds in the first 60-70 minutes. After Fernandinho came, the story was different, but for the first, the most impactful period, you can say that 60-70 for the first half, just to get that goal. I think so. Pep got it completely wrong, I guess. I mean, we are not here to judge we was right or wrong, but from the perspective and from the what I saw, I think so. He got it completely wrong.
Correct. So this was the discussion about UEFA Champions League. I think we should move on to UEFA Europa League right now. So the king of Europa League, Unai Emery, has done it again. He's won the UEFA Europa League with Villarreal this time, and Manchester United were the ones on the receiving end. I'd like to talk about David De Gea. I think he hasn't stopped a penalty since 2016. Do you think he is really past his prime, and Manchester United needs to look beyond him right now?
Well, you can say, Manchester United do need to look beyond him. He's 30 years old. He will become 31 in this season. So yeah, they need to look behind him. But out of the prime, you can say, that 2016, 2017, 18, there was, probably the best version of Daya you could have ever got. And the kind of saves, that he made at that time, I think so. Alongside Neuer, he was the only player, who is capable of saving goals with his legs. He will move his legs around in such a way that he would probably, if you what you can say outplayed him, if you told him to, if you what you can showed him, if you are going to score at the near post, and he will follow you at the near post, but you shoot at the far post, means if you try to deceive him, he has that long range, and he has that what you can say, that thinking capacity, that it's difficult to outthink him. If you what you can say, deceive him in shooting at the near post and shoot at the far post, he would
Hmm.
probably look through that and probably save that goal. So I guess they should look what you can say past him. And the Man U have Dean Henderson in their squad, so probably they don't have to look that much far. But yeah, and credit, if you are talking about this penalty shootout with their, I would say, I will like to give credit to Villarreal players. They were just, every shot, each and every shot that they took was either in the bottom corner or in the top corner. And it's usually difficult, when it goes towards what you can say, the corner part of the post. It usually becomes difficult for a keeper, and again, we have to keep at least 1 foot on the line, or below the line, not below the line, behind the line, behind the goal, to save a penalty. So yeah, it has become difficult for goalkeepers to drop penalties. But is Daya past his prime? Probably past his prime, but he still has 1 or 2 years more to go before United can sell him to other club.
I mean, back in the days, around 2015-16, I remember De Gea was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I really admired him. He had made it to the Spain national team as well. after
Mm.
Casillas, and everyone thought that yes, he has filled Casillas boots, and he's going to, kind of lead Spain from the posts as a goalkeeper like that.
Mm.
So, but things are very different right now, and yeah, I just saw a post wherein David De Gea had written notes about which player could shoot where.
Yes,
I
yes.
think he got most of them right, but he was not able to apply those tactics in the goal post, and that's what led to so many goals being scored in the penalty shootout. Also, apart from that, I don't understand the way he took penalty too. It
Mm.
was just very easy for the opponent goalkeeper to grab the ball, and yeah, that was it for Villarreal.
Yeah, I guess the penalty that he took. I think so. That was a little flubbed penalty. He tried to place it into the corner, and nobody if you look at the penalties, either they went for precision or for the power. No one went for the correct the timing and the placement. So Daya was the only one
Hmm.
who went for the placement of the ball, but they just fluffed it and missed his penalty. And as far as Villarreal goes, credit goes to them. This is their first ever European trophy, major European trophy, and you should
Hmm.
probably if you have UL should be we call Europa League UEL, so it should probably be renamed as Unai Emery League for UEL.
Correct. And so in the next UEFA Champions League season, we'll have five Spanish teams
Mm,
in the form of Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, and Villarreal,
Villarreal.
the newest team that is being promoted to the Champions League. So I'm really happy for them, especially for players like Gerard Moreno,
Mm.
who've been working hard for them since past 2 or 3 years, and he's finally got his fruits.
And not only Gerard Moreno, Santi Cazorla, who has been
And Nico Torres.
recently, has been part of Villarreal team. For him also, it is a great thing, and for Danny Pereira as well. Danny Pereira, he was a captain of Valencia, and he was
Correct.
kicked out of that squad because I don't know what was the reason. Maybe he was getting old, or maybe did not have money. So they kicked him out, and he came to Villarreal, and he won a European UEFA Europa League. So credit goes to them.
Correct. Back in 2017-18
Mm.
type season, I remember watching Valencia do really well,
Mm.
especially against the Giants as well. And Dani Parejo was the part of the team. He was actually one of the main players along with Batshuayi and Antonio Guedes and Rodrigo too.
Mm.
But after that, we saw their downfall as well. So we'll keep Valencia for the next video. And I think we should talk about the Euro Cup right now.
Yes, the what you can say European World Cup. We can also call it like that.
Correct. We can talk it. You know, say that it's the European World Cup. So I think we should first talk about France. France are the world champions,
Mm.
and they'll be looking forward to win this trophy as well and assert their domination in this league as well.
The last time the France won. I probably think France was not the most what you can say the complete team as well. They were not the tournament favorites for me. They obviously they were one of the top teams, but not the favorites for me. But coming 2 years later, when we look at other teams, probably now you can see that France team is probably the one of the most complete teams, and probably one of the
Mhm.
team who has a lot of players who can play in what you can say. We used to say that अरे इनके पास तो इतने player है कि they can make two teams. So that is the
Mhm.
case with France, and as we all know, Aymeric Laporte, he changed his nationality from France to Spain, and he will be probably
Mhm.
going to
France
Spain.
to Spain.
So you can see that France team is probably so what you can say stacked team right now.
Correct. And talking about France, they've been doing really well since
Hmm.
2016. They made it to the finals of the Euro Cup, nearly won it. If not for that goal from, I
Eder,
think
Eder,
Eder. Yeah,
Eder.
correct. If not the goal from Eder, France could have easily won that in the penalties,
Hmm.
I'd say. Apart from that, they also won the World Cup in 2018, and we all know that they have among the youngest teams in the world,
Hmm.
and they are among the most formidable too. So if we talk about players like Mbappe, uh, Giroud, Benzema is back, and N'Golo Kante, we were talking about. Of course, N'Golo
Hmm.
Kante is about 30 years old right now, but he's got a lot of experience, and he's got form with him as well because he's the champion. He's the champion of the UEFA Champions League. So yeah, I think France should really do well in this tournament too.
And last year, as you said, the France team was very young, especially the backline of France, the defenders of France. If you look at the France team that has been announced, Lucas Digne is probably the what we can say the senior most player, and probably you can say that he's the captain of the team. But other than that, you can say Kimpembe is young, Lucas Hernandez is young, Leo
Hmm.
Dubois who's a Lyon player, and he's an extremely good player. But he's also he doesn't have that much of experience playing in the big stage. Jules Koundé as well from Sevilla. We all know how well he did for Lopetegui and Sevilla. And
Hmm.
Benjamin Pavard, he scored that wonder goal against Argentina, and probably
Argentina.
that was the first time I heard the name Benjamin Pavard. Other before
Haha.
that, I probably never had never would have known who the player is. And other than that, you can probably say that Rafael Varane is probably alongside Lucas Digne is probably one of the senior most player of this whole defense line. And probably it would rely on they would rely on Rafael Varane and Lucas Digne to lead their back line, sort their players, tell them to form a line, play an offside trap. So it will, both of them would be very what you can say important for France team, considering their defense.
Correct. It will also be difficult for the other teams to get past their midfielders
Mm.
in because they've got great midfielders in form of N'Golo Conte, Paul Pogba, experience of Adrien Rabiot, and they've got potential of Tolisso as well.
Mm.
So a great team as far as the midfielders are concerned. And talking about their attack, they've got Karim Benzema, who's in the form of his life. Real Madrid are looking to offer
Mm.
him another 2 years old or 2 years deal. So he's got form momentum as well. And of course, Kylian Mbappe, he's among the best players in the world right now.
And don't put your eye on means you can say don't forget about Antoine Griezmann as well. Even though he has
True.
not performed well for Barcelona, he definitely shows up
Hmm.
when he has to play for France. And they have young players as well. They have Marcus Thuram, who I've seen in the Bundesliga, played for Mönchengladbach. He's another, one of the players who can probably play at the left or at the maybe center as well as a striker. So
Hmm.
a good experience of what you can say youth as well as experience. But a lot of I like I if I'm in a position and I'm looking to exploit this France team, I would probably look for their defenders because they are probably very young. And other than one problem that I see with this team is other than N'Golo Conte, I don't see what you can defensive midfielder, good quality defensive midfielder. So yeah, a lot of eyes will be on their young defense, and probably you can say that what N'Golo Kante does might be important for France in the midfield.
Correct. He's going to have to play an important role. But
Mm.
I think if France wants to rest N'Golo Kante for a game or two,
Mm.
they can probably play without the central defensive and play an cam instead. So yeah, that could be done. So after France, I think we should talk about Germany right now.
Mm.
And Joachim Löw, who's been managing Germany for I guess 20 years now, has decided to step down from his job after the Euro Cup, and I think he'll look forward to probably win this tournament and end with a good note. End on a good note.
Yeah, in 2014, they were nearly unbeatable, and in the 2016 as well, they were. I did this
Mhm.
Germany side, in 2016, looked nearly unbeatable. Even though they got a draw against Italy, and lost to France in the semi-final. But this team, has been one of the top teams. They have won 3 World Cups, I guess, 4 World Cups if I count West Germany as well. So they have
Correct.
won 4 World Cups, the second most after Brazil. So yeah, and as you
Mhm.
said, Joachim Low would like to live on a good note. But if you look at the team, it's kind of a new team. There's not much experience in here, but this is certainly a great team. If you look at probably as the forwards, after the Miroslav Klose, no one has been able to replace Miroslav Klose like as of right now. I had a lot of
Mhm.
expectations and hope from Timo Werner because prior to the World Cup, he was playing for RB Leipzig, and he had a great goal scoring season. I think so. He scored around 50-20 goals, and I was really excited to see Timo Werner take Miroslav Klose's place as a Germany striker. But he certainly failed
Mhm.
in that World Cup, and he certainly does not have that form with him right now. But he certainly needs to do something because other than him, I don't see any striker in the team What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean they've got good players in their forwards in the form of Serge Gnabry and Thomas Muller. But yeah, like you said, they'll miss the services of Miroslav Klose.
Mm.
I think he's the top scorer in the World Cups. No one will be able to replace him very easily as of now. And expectations are on Timo Werner, like you said. Even
Mm.
though he does not have form, I think he has momentum because again he's part of that Chelsea tournament winning team, so he'll definitely carry that form and momentum with him, maybe momentum more, and
Mm.
he'll carry that confidence too because he was on the score sheet against Real Madrid in that semi-final. So that should definitely give him a boost.
And other department I would like to talk about is the midfield. This Germany midfield team is just stacked. As you can say, Ilkay Gundogan, who has a great season with Manchester City, is in the team. Toni Kroos, they have Thomas Muller, they have Kimmich, they have Gnabry, they have Goretzka, they have Havertz, and some Bundesliga name as well, Jonas Hoffmann from Mönchengladbach and Florian Neuhaus. So midfield currently looks stacked right now, and probably he would Joachim Low would probably go with five midfield and play Muller alongside Timo Werner probably.
So you think Gnabry might not be able to each and every game because he's got the potential and he was among the players who won the Champions League last season. He also scored about 10 to 15 goals in that season, I guess.
Well, if you talk at the talk about the flanks as well, who will play on the wings, then your obvious choices would be Serge Gnabry and Leroy Sané, because they both have that pace and they both have that flair, as you need for to play as a wing. So both of them are the right what you can say, the only choices I would see playing on the wings. Other than that, all of them likes to operate in the middle part of the area, and they usually like to tend to what you can say, stay centrally and near the central lines. So yeah, they probably the Serge Gnabry and Leroy Sané are probably the only choices for the wingers right now.
Correct. And talking about their defense, there are a lot of Chelsea players in this team.
Mm.
They also have Antonio Rudiger. Again, he'll be carrying that form and momentum both.
Other than that, Antonio Rudiger and I can see Matt Hummels as well. He is an experienced campaigner for Germany, as well as he has been in and around Dortmund and Bayern Munich, just ping ponging between them. Other than that, you see Nicolas Soule, who is certainly strong, but is he fast enough for to play in the Euros? We might have to see. Other than that, Robin Gosens, who is another who has been another key player for Atlanta. He's in there. Then Robin Koch, who has probably had a decent season with Leeds, probably not as highly as I would rate him. But yeah, these are the players who has a lot of experience in playing in the Bundesliga, playing in the league. These players have certainly have experience of playing in the league, but they certainly lack that what you can say, big match, what you can say, use like matches like UCL. They don't have experience of playing those level of matches, so probably this might be the area where they get exposed. But I can see I can see that there's some potential in them, and they might probably do well in the Euros.
Of course, I mean, the last time Germany won the World Cup, it was back in 2014. It was an entirely different team. Many new players are there in this team. Of course, the names like
Mm-hmm.
Manuel Neuer and Toni Kroos are common, and of course Thomas Muller
Thomas
as
Muller
well.
as well.
But correct, yeah. But overall, it's a different team, and it will be interesting to see how Joachim Low uses his players and how this Germany team does in the final. So I think we should move on to Spain. And the big news about the Spanish team is that not even a single Real Madrid player has been selected in the Euro Cup.
And there's one more thing as well. Every UEFA has given them permission to name to play, to take 26 men along as a squad. But Luis Enrique has gone with 24 players only. So probably there's still time to take Ramos in as well.
Ramos and
Ramos and
Ramos
someone
and
from Real Madrid. So yeah,
Nacho.
certainly Spain have two what you can say, two positions left. So probably they might be waiting for Ramos's injury update to come through. We all know he was injured. So maybe we can see Ramos coming in late. After maybe 2 or 3 matches, he will see, and because there certainly they can play. And here you can see the list that I have. The Spanish coach has said that he don't want to take any more players, because usually you take around 19 to 20 players, but this time because of COVID restrictions, COVID and all, UEFA has allowed them to take 26. But yeah, I can see someone like Ramos coming in late in the squad. But other than that, this is what you can say. This is not the squad that they had in 2010, 2012. That prime era, you can say, of Spain. Certainly, there are some good players, but not of that level. That we had Xavi, Iniesta, Piqué, Ramos, Iker
Correct.
Casillas, David Villa. That what you can say,
Fernando
generation of a
Torres.
team. Yes, Fernando Torres. So your
Yeah,
thoughts
I
on that?
mean the correct. Yeah, I mean to say to compare this team with the team that played in 2008, 10,
Mm,
and 12. I think I think we should not even try to name both these teams in the same bracket. That team
mm,
was legendary. I mean that was among the greatest teams in international football. I'll say they had players like Casillas in the goal,
mm,
Ramos, young defender, formidable, had experience of about 4 to 5 years, and they had players like Iniesta and Xavi who played for Barcelona under Pep, and they were doing really well at the club level, and they used to bring that momentum
mm,
into the Spanish squad. Players like David Villa, Fernando Torres, these guys were really good, in the attack. So,
mm.
but if you compare that team with this, I think it is a really bad downgrade. Uh, so yeah, I don't really have a lot of hopes with the Spanish teams. Max to max, I think they'll play the quarterfinals, not more than that.
And
I mean, if they play the semis, it would be as if they punched really above their weight.
again, if you look at that round of 16 match that they had against Russia in the 2008 World Cup, 2018 World Cup, sorry, last World Cup, they completed 1,000 passes. It was, I think, so a record. No team has ever completed 1,000 passes. Completed 1,000 passes completed. I'm talking about, not even attempted. So and and there was a lot of complaints going around. That this team just like to play the pass sideways. And tiki taka is what you can say has become a little bit overrated. I know people are talking about tiki taka is not overrated, but the way that Spanish team played, they were just passing for the sake of passing. There was no penetration. There was no what you can say intensity in that team. There was not the lack of creativity in the team, and that can certainly come and bite them, because if you look at the team right now, who you will look for your creativity? Probably Thiago Alcantara, who probably has had a bad season. Koke is another what you can say, probably should best suited to play a number 6 role. Luis, probably Fabian Luis, we can say that he can be an attacking force, but I have not seen him, so I would refrain from commenting anything about it. Pedri, who has been a young sensation for Barcelona, he can be certainly as a driver, but other than that, I don't see that level of creativity that the 10 and 12 team had in this one.
Correct. And to talk about their attack, I think Gerard Moreno, Alvaro Morata, and even between Torres and Adama Traore
Mm.
might start for Spain. Again, Gerard Moreno only seems to be someone who could be trusted uh, for goals in this team. We all know Alvaro Morata is inconsistent with his finishing, and he's had problems in the past, and he continues to do so.
And other than that, this is probably the what you can say the least experienced squad that that the Spanish team can have. And what do you think has led to the downfall of that? From that great Spanish team to now we have come to this team. What do you think could be the reasons for that?
I mean, there should be no excuse for the Spanish team because they've had
Mm.
the best leagues in the world, best
Mm.
teams in the world in the form of Barcelona, Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. They had all sorts of, monetary support,
Mm.
experience, great players, great coaches coming into their leagues, and their leagues winning. Their teams winning in all European competitions. Definitely, this Spanish team should have been even better than this. I'm really not sure what happened, but जो हो रहा है वो I think उतना अच्छे से नहीं हो पा रहा है उनसे अभी.
Do you think, is that, probably, they would have put a lot of pressure, a lot of, what you can say, मतलब ज़्यादा ध्यान बार्सिलोना एंड रियल मैड्रिड के ऊपर गया, ऐसा लगता है? मतलब बिकॉज आई सडनली फील, बिकॉज that Spanish team, it was filled with, Barcelona and Real Madrid players, and probably, everyone was talking about that, the team that won, the Spanish team that won, that was probably, the Barcelona team that won the World Cup, not the Spanish team. So, probably, that it do you think is the it is that it is effect of that Barcelona Real Madrid rivalry that is if reflecting on the team right now?
Even though that is true,
Hmm.
I think the reason why Spain attracts a lot of audience, uh, I think the biggest reason is the El Clasico rivalry.
Hmm.
And yeah, the rivalry hasn't been able to live up to itself for the past few years,
Hmm.
and that might be the reason why we have this sort of squad right now.
And if you look at that individual players right now, there's I don't find anyone other than Pablo Sarabia.
See, till 2018, Barcelona played with Busquets,
Hmm.
Iniesta, PK, all these guys. They were still doing very well, but
Hmm.
since the 2019 season, these guys have had downfall. Iniesta moved to another league, probably in
Hmm.
Japan. So they're not able. They did not have a lot of time to replace these players, and I think the reason why the team looks like this is the inexperience in the Barcelona squad. And again, Real Madrid squad, midfield, defenders, most of its players are from the other countries. So yeah.
So I was just wanted to point to one thing, that other than Pablo Sarabia, now, who probably did not play even for PSG. So other than that, I don't see any player whose team probably went forward, went what you can say, deep into the Champions League, other than Pablo Sarabia and Cesar Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta certainly
Mhm.
plays for Chelsea. So other than these two, nobody has experience of even playing the Champions League this season. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that should affect this team, but overall, I'd like to say that Luis Enrique
Hmm.
has got a lot of potential. He did great things with Barcelona team. He won the treble in 2015. His team was too good in 2016-17 season as well. Even though they did not win the league back then,
Hmm.
his team did really well. So I think Luis Enrique uh, should probably be able to help his team kick above their weight.
And as you said, I don't see Spain team, going further than quarterfinal as well, because you have
Correct.
certainly, great teams, like teams like Croatia, are even all on par with the Spanish team as well. So yeah, there's a lot of competition for them, and hopefully, Luis Enrique would probably, would help this team to punch above their weight if they want to win this year's Euro Cup.
Correct. And yeah, like you said, I think Spanish team would probably be setting their targets to the semi-final as semi-finals only,
Mm.
because that's the best this team can get. After that, if they end up winning, I think
Mm.
it's gonna be the like the biggest underdog story. But I don't think that that is going to happen when you have teams like France, Germany, Netherlands playing in
Mm.
this tournament. So I guess now we should move on to the next topic we have right now, and we should talk about Zinedine Zidane leaving Real Madrid. He wrote a two-page letter to the fans, and he said that the club did not trust him. So, as a fan, it's very
Mm.
heartbreaking to hear that, because all of us fans have had hopes with Florentino Perez. We always thought that he was our inspiration. He could do nothing wrong, but things haven't been going on good lately for him and the club as well.
And probably the thing that is he was looking to start the European Super League, that did not what you can say, bode well with
Mhm.
Zinedine Zidane, the players as well as the fans. So probably after after that decision, you can probably say that the board does not trust him, maybe because of the
Mhm.
Super League shenanigans. But yeah, I'm not wrong with. I'm not saying that Zidane is wrong. Previously,
Mhm.
also he decided to leave because the club didn't trusted him with
Same
and
here.
probably that the thing that did not want Ronaldo to leave, but Real Madrid let him leave, and that was probably one of the reasons that he made him resign. then, and now also probably he might not get the transfer that he need, because other than that, if you look at the Real Madrid transfer, I don't remember who they signed last year. Like, this has been
Yeah,
their
I mean,
transfer.
in the recent years, Real Madrid
Mm,
have spent only 57 million, only 45 million in
mm,
the transfer window,
mm,
and Granada has spent more money than Real Madrid. If we
mm,
talk about the net spend, Granada has had more signings than Real Madrid in the past. So that speaks volumes because Real Madrid is among the top clubs in the
mm,
world. We expect Galactico signings every now and then, but that hasn't happened. I think the financial condition hasn't been very good for Real Madrid due to the COVID situation, of course, and the fact that they are renewing their stadium. So because of that, maybe they do not have a
mm.
solid project to offer to Zinedine Zidane, and they aren't able to sign the top players in the world. They signed Eden Hazard, but the move hasn't worked really well. It has backfired. He hasn't been professional in the last 2 seasons. Of course, we all know that when he came to Madrid, he was overweight. Then he
Mm.
could not take care of his fitness. Got injured every now and then, and things like that aren't going really good for the club, which is why Zinedine Zidane said that he wants to leave.
And if Zidane leaves, who's gonna take it? Who's gonna take charge of Real Madrid team? At that, the way he took the charge, because he took this Real Madrid team, which I did not thought they would probably reach semi-final, and they reached semi-final. They fought for the semi-final again. They fought in the semi-final against Chelsea. Probably came out short, but yes, the way they fought in the semi-final, never gave up till the last moment. And this certainly Real Madrid team, they certainly punched above their weight in the Champions League. And probably after Zidane leave, probably we might see the downfall of Real Madrid in the Champions League. Sure, they might do well in the La Liga, but Champions League, recently, and if if what you can say, certain good signings doesn't come in, I don't see Real Madrid
Mhm.
competing for the UCL title.
And Real Madrid right now have signed David Alaba. I think it's a great
Mm,
signing because he's very versatile as a player, can play anywhere in the defense, and can probably play the central defensive midfield as well. With Casemiro,
mm,
starting to decline, he's been slow on the pitch. David Alaba can also probably replace him and play in the few games. Of course, he might probably replace Sergio Ramos, but he can play that role too. So a great signing for Real Madrid as of now, and this has to be the biggest transfer window for Real Madrid. They'll be scouting players in the Euro Cup.
mm.
We shall see what happens next in a couple of months.
So yeah, a big, you can say, the big summer coming up for Real Madrid fans.
Yeah, a lot of players need to
Mm,
come, and a lot of them need to go as well.
mm.
So yeah, I think what do you think should we talk about next?
Probably the fact that the Conte is trying to leave Inter Milan, or probably leaving Inter Milan.
Correct.
And I heard this report last year as well. Everyone was talking about whether Conte is leaving or not. Yeah, and
Mhm.
probably everyone wanted him to stay, because we all know what he is capable of with the Inter Milan team. We saw it last year, and this year as well. They won the Scudetto, and they defeated. They broke the Juventus Scudetto winning run. They
Winning
had
streak.
win. I think so. They had Juventus won it nine consecutive times, and
Mhm.
he just came and just won the Scudetto. So yeah, I probably wanted him to stay at Inter Milan as well. They have just won the Scudetto. You probably might look for challenging in the UCL, but yeah, he's leaving, and I don't know where he will go. Probably Real Madrid will be will be in and around him, trying to get his signature. But yeah, after that,
I mean,
Inter
yes,
Milan.
true. I mean,
Mm,
Real Madrid are looking to sign a manager, and Conte is among those managers who they are going after.
um,
Carlo Ancelotti is also among the managers they are looking after, but Real Madrid do not have a lot of money, and
um,
right now, of course, and they don't have a project that they have to offer. So I think it's going to be difficult for managers to choose for Real Madrid because that could affect their portfolio, their resume. But yeah, talking about Conte, of course, he's leaving because again, Inter Milan are not able to get those big signings and
mm,
finance for the project he has planned for the next season, and that's the reason why he's leaving. I think we can also see that Inter Milan not doing so well in the in the new season, because since Allegri has joined Juventus back, Juventus could probably win the league again for a few years to come.
Yes, I was
Yes.
going to come to the point that Massimiliano Allegri has rejoined Juventus, and probably he was only removed for the fact that he could not win the Champions League with Ronaldo in the team as well. So that was probably the reason they sacked him, and now he's back. I don't expect Juventus to win Champions League again. Whether unless and until what you can say, sell, probably make a perfect use of Ronaldo. Get some of the players, try to you can say help him, or provide that kind of service to him. Other than that, Juventus are certainly favorites to win the Serie A next season, but Champions League is still a big far reach for them.
Correct. With Allegri back in the managerial position, I think Juventus could do better than what they did in the past seasons in the UCL as well. Ronaldo could step his game up, because we all know that he's got the experience, and he's got the hunger to win, and he has what it takes to do well in the Champions League. So yeah, maybe we can finally hope that Juventus doing really well in the Champions League. And if Juventus goes past the quarterfinals, I think they can easily make it to the finals. Of course, it's a different story about what they do in the semifinals and the finals, but they are clearly gonna do better than what they did in the last few years in the UCL. This is what I believe.
So yeah, any other stories that are remaining that we should talk about?
I think we've talked enough, and we should leave a few things for our next video as well.
And I just wanted to say that probably we might come back with cricket podcast next week with England New Zealand series starting, and India's World Test Championship around the corner. We might probably bring cricket podcast.
Analyze the team and
yes.
talk about the strengths, weaknesses about both New Zealand and in India.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that cricket podcast as well. So probably next week you can get two podcasts, one for football and one for cricket. So stay subscribed for that.
So yeah, I think that's what we have for you in this video, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Peace out.